Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Don't Trip Sis podcast. I'm your co-host, Ashley Dominique. I'm a handful, but I'm sweet, and I'm here with my sis, my co-host.
Hey y'all, it's your girl Ashley Bridget, who always has something to say, and I am so excited to get ready to talk about this episode and what we got going on. So you ready, Ash?
I am absolutely ready. Probably not as ready as the people we're going to be talking about.
Right.
But we're going to get them ready. So let's go ahead and get into it, sis. Back to school.
Yes.
Summer prep.
Yes.
I know it's dear to your heart as an educator, as a teacher. I know you've been seeing the school supplies creeping up around you in the stores. I was just in Target and I saw a lot of school supplies. First person I thought it was you. So yes. Back to school summer prep for families, parents, students, and educators. What does that look like, sis?
You know what? That's a really great question. I would say what it looks like is making sure that you are prepping your child for the next grade that they are entering. So whether you have your first time of a child going into elementary school for the first time, so they're starting off as TK or going into kindergarten, it's doing the proper tools to get them ready for that. We know, I'm not a mother, but I do know that the transition from being home for a certain amount of years and then transitioning into a school setting can be, difficult for students. I know I went through that as a young age. I'm sure all of us did. And as a teacher, I do see it every school year. The new kinders coming into school and, they're shocked. They're a little bit confused. They're sad. You hear tears crying because it's leaving mommy and daddy, the comfort of home. They've been safe and comfortable at home for however long because not everybody goes to preschool. That's a parent's choice. Sometimes they send their kids to preschool. Sometimes they don't. So that a bigger campus and transitioning to know that mommy and daddy are going to be gone for most of the day, that could be a lot. So I would just say by, prepping your kids by giving them schoolwork, worksheets, just, the simple things, ABCs or whatever, prior to going into kindergarten. If you have kids who are going into first, second, third, fourth, or transitioning to fifth grade, then again, it's the same thing. It's getting that proper prep work ahead and giving them assignments to kind of get their minds slowly ready for the next level. Case in point, I have a niece who is going into fifth grade this year. And I'm actually a former fifth grade teacher because now going into this school year, I'll be teaching fourth grade. So this is going to be different for me. But because I taught fifth grade for about 3.5 years, therefore I still have, materials to help prep, kids getting into fifth grade. So what I was going to do is send that to my sis and let her know, all right, look, this is what you can use for your daughter to kind of help her get ready for the transition of fifth grade. Because we do know that this is the last year of elementary. This is the last full year. And I think, when you have kids who are still in that elementary mode and they're a year away from middle school, that transition can be a little bit difficult. So I know as a former fifth grade teacher, I always was always prepping my kids after a couple months. All right, y'all got 6 more months, 8 more months before, we're in middle school. So I would suggest that for parents to get workbooks and, math books and whatever, you can find to just slowly help your kids get ready for the transition of the next grade level they're entering, whether it's elementary school, middle school, and for high school at this point, I think they should know better a little bit more. So I feel like once you get into high school, the parents can back off and hopefully that child has enough, maturity to figure out what to do and study on his or her own. But I definitely feel for middle school and under to really be more hands-on and help prepping your students or your child with certain works. And then also if you have access to the teacher, maybe email them, class dojo them, hey, Mr. or Mrs. whoever, just curious on what is the plan for this school year or things like that. Because I know teachers kind of put out a list of what parents need to get for their kids. So just having an early time to prep and understand and go through the textbooks and really be present for your child because these transitions are big and every teacher is different. Every style is different. I know I'm a rigorous teacher. I go in for my students. When I was teaching fifth grade this past school year, we did essays every month. And it was 3 to 5 pages typed, single space, Times New Roman font. with the bibliography, wasn't playing. It's like in a spell check, you got to get it done. And I know my students were like, what? Oh my gosh, Miss Jackson, that's so much. Y'all about to be in 6th grade. So, and I kept telling them, y'all are 3 years away from high school. So let's do it, And so when you come in with that mindset, for me as a teacher, then that encourages the parents, because a lot of the parents appreciated that rigorous type of push that I have for my kids. And so prepping your students, ahead of time for whatever grade level. And I'm not saying you got to do a whole lot, but if you have like a daily worksheet just to tighten up their math skills, tighten up their reading skills, their handwriting skills. And let me say this, as a teacher, handwriting is very important. It is very hard for us teachers to read most of our students' handwriting. So I say this, especially if you have upper age children, like 10 and up, like it's very important that you practice their handwriting, because I feel like it gets sloppier. And even though we're in a day and age where everything is now getting to digital and a lot of teachers prefer to have things emailed and, send stuff online, I get it. But at the same time, there's still a lot of handwriting that, a lot of teachers do in class, including me. So for me, it's important for parents to practice writing, have their children do handwriting practices at home if they have time. And, if they don't know where to get them, there's materials online. You can go to Walmart, 99-cent store, Dollar Tree, and get these handwriting books to help your child with better handwriting, because it's very, very important. My mom was on me. My mom was a former retired Oakland Unified School District teacher. So growing up with a teacher already, like, handwriting was crucial for me. Like, if I wrote my A's wrong, she'd be like, no, Ashley, do it again. And I didn't understand that when you're like in elementary school, but as an adult, I'm so thankful she took that time to hone in on my handwriting, because it's very important as teachers, because when we do spelling tests, I don't know what you're writing, so I encourage parents who are out there, new parents or parents who have kids who are past a certain age, to practice handwriting with your children, and, practice reading with them. If you have EL students, if you have children who struggle with reading, try to take 10, 15 minutes out of your day, if you can, to, help them. And then also another way to prep for the next school year is start looking early for possible tutors. I know a lot of schools offer tutoring programs, but I also did Kumon when I was in elementary school and middle school, because I struggle with math. So my mom put me in a after school math program to help build up my math strengths and things like that, which it did help. I still don't like math, even though I got to teach it, but I teach all types of subjects, but math has never been, girl, my favorite subject. But when I was in middle school and elementary school, my mom put me in Kumon. So, and again, everyone's budget is different. Not everyone has financial access to certain things, but there are free resources for parents to help, prepare their students to be better and successful for the next school year. So I would definitely say that in tutoring programs, because it is neat, it's helpful. And also, like, when you get to meet your teacher, your child's teacher, get to know them. And once the school year starts and that teacher is assessing, their child, then I would say after that, we have back to school. Show up. Parents, show up to back to school, because you're doing your child a disservice if you don't show up. And if you can't make it, communicate to that teacher so we can find ways to work with you, whether it's a Zoom call or a FaceTime call or a phone call, because I know everyone's work schedule is different. But as a teacher, we need our parents to show up so we can find that support with that child. Because how I see it, sis, I tell my students this every school year. I said, your parents are the coach. I am the assistant coach. Y'all are the players, and so, we try to make it to the championship, the Super Bowl, the World Series. And that is y'all graduating and moving on to the next grade level. So y'all got to meet me halfway. And I said, if one of y'all mess up, everybody's benched. Like, that's how I analyze it. So I would definitely just say that a lot of just kind of pre-worksheets going online, things that are free, and just something activities. Even if parents are traveling right now with their family and friends, and their children on the plane, bus, train, whatever y'all do, road trips, that drive you got going from, say, Cali to Atlanta, whatever, if you're driving, have a workbook. Let your child do some work in the back seat until you get to the destination. That is how you keep your child prepared for the next school year. That is how it makes it easier also for us as teachers, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, most definitely do, because that readiness for school prep is solely on the families. Teachers can give you all the resources before you leave the previous school year. If you're not utilizing them, they absolutely carry no weight until obviously school is about to start and parents are like, now what do I do? And they're hoping that, their student retained something from the previous school year. But regardless of how short summers have gotten, because they definitely have gotten shorter, that time without being on that routine of studying and on a schedule of learning consistently on a 5-day schedule, and even sometimes 6 to 7 day schedule, is very crucial, because kids are sponges and they'll soak up the sun and enjoy having fun and things of that nature. But they might forget, okay, so what is 4 plus 4? Is it 8? I don't even know. Am I adding 4 to another 4, taking away, dividing? They can easily lose that. If you're not constantly practicing something, you'll forget how to do it. So, yes, summer can be a lovely break for students and families, but it's so important to still have some type of implication of learning during the summer for your kids, because it makes it so much easier for their transition and for their educators when they come into the school year to be able to, because for one, you guys have multiple students in your class. So there's not just one perfect technique to teach, because not every student learns the same way. So yes, you might teach multiple subjects, but then you have to figure out, how do I teach multiple subjects to multiple kids at different learning levels? Especially when there was no prep work done before. Like, you're the sous chef, and then you turn around and you realize, okay, the person who's supposed to cut up all the veggies and the person supposed to pick the meats and the person that's supposed to put the sides, they all slacked on their part. And now you got to come in and do everything else and then do your job on top of it. It can get very difficult. I have a 2-year-old, and I let him watch a lot of educational things. I say a lot of educational things with him, like his ABCs. We even count backwards, because he needs to know that's a thing too. Showing him how to work, like with his fingers, or when he has things in front of him, like, oh, look, that's 4 pieces or something. Not just putting things in front of him and letting him go about his little day. But I'm also around younger family members of mine who are in high school, middle school, because I have nieces, nephews, and cousins. And someone just graduated preschool, going into kindergarten for the first time. Another one, she's going into, I believe, 2nd grade. And so I'm around smaller kids. So I'm around different age groups that are in pretty much all the ranges of school, even up until college. And that summer prep is important, because I can see which ones are retaining information from the previous school years, and which ones, once summer hit, all that went out the window. It means a lot. It's definitely it's very detrimental to a child to be constantly taught if they're not, because they can't self-teach themselves things they don't know. If they're not being taught, and if some parents might find the current school system complicated.
Right.
Even for elementary subjects, they might be like, whoa, that's more advanced than when I was in the 5th grade. And so it's a learning experience for them, and they're like, I'll just let the teacher take over. There's so many resources they can utilize to prep your kids for going back to school. Just reestablishing a routine. As simple as, okay, we're going to go to bed at 8. at 9 o'clock because we're going to start practicing getting back up at 7, especially if they have a work schedule. Yes, it can be hard, and you're like, well, if I get a break, I don't have to get them up and get them ready. But some parents didn't have that luxury. This summer, they still have to get their kids up because they might not have to take them to daycare or be watched by a family member or somewhere where they can be taken care of while they still go to work because their schedule kept going through the summer. And so reestablishing those routines is very important coming out of the summer where it was a lot more relaxed. Sharpening those academic skills can't be more important. Going over a few flashcards. They have color books at a lot of different like dollar stores or Walmart, Target, CVS, just any store you could pretty much go into. You could probably obtain like a small color book, and some of them are educational.
Right.
They do have like educational books. I've seen them myself in like the Dollar Tree and the dollar store, where even like Dollar General or Family Dollar, where they have books that are based off of a certain grade to try to keep them up, and getting them a couple of those for the summer to prep them and prepare them for the next grade really works. It really helps because some of that they will be going over with their teachers if they won't receive something similar
right
to that.
Right, exactly.
So it's definitely important. And just getting organized.
Right.
Starting to get the house organized to be back in a work environment for both the guardian, the parent, and the student, clearing a space for them to do their homework where they're not distracted.
Right.
So it's away from like things that distract them, whether that's the TV, electronics, their tablets, whatever. If most people, when I grew up, it was the kitchen table because there's no television in the dining room or if your dining table was in the kitchen.
Right.
There's no television over there, less distractions. It's near a window, so it's got natural light, so you can see things properly. You're not messing up your vision. There's ways around. You have to start initiating these things so that way your child has somewhere to focus. The classroom gives them a place to focus and be able to concentrate on what they're doing. They need a safe space at home as well, or wherever they go. If they're going to a grandparent house or daycare, most daycares are set up too for them to have a spot where they can work. But if they're going to another family member house, maybe saying like, oh, hey, can they sit over here at your dining table with their homework and stuff, somewhere where they're not distracted, they're able to focus, and whoever's care they're in needs to also implement and prioritize their academic skills, especially in areas that they aren't strong in.
Exactly. And I totally agree with you on that. And I think on top of that too is understanding for, again, to a lot of parents, and it's not everybody, but we teachers can only do so much. It's like we also need our parents to meet us halfway. I think some parents, not all, may feel that we are the babysitters and we're supposed to fix all the problems that their child has. But let's be real, your child starts at home with you. And how your child enters the classroom, we see as parents, as teachers, what have you been doing at home and what you haven't been doing at home. And so the thing is, the home is the child's first classroom to learn. It's at home. We all learn from home. And this is what I think a lot of students don't realize. And I think some parents, younger parents, I would say, don't realize is that our first classroom is the home. Our first teacher is our parents. And so when you're bringing your student or your child into the classroom and their behavior is off the wall, they, are not getting enough sleep, they're not eating properly, all these things. And we as teachers can only do so much based off of what the district is giving us, what our school is giving us, what we as human beings can give us, give as teachers, because we also got other children to work on top of lesson planning and everything else we as teachers have to do. You have to understand, it's like you got to look at the bigger picture. And I feel like each generation has to be better. I know there's a lot of millennial parents out there, which is, I'm here for that. I'm a millennial too. Not a mom, like I said earlier, but still we have to understand that we teachers can only do so much. So we need the help from the parents. We need you guys to contact us and have meetings and check in. Hey, how's my son doing? How's my daughter doing? Because the older your child gets, let's be real, as teachers are not going to reach out. We're just going to be like, look, your child is 15. Right. He or she should know what they need to do. Well, my child skipped class. Why did they skip school? I don't know. You tell me. You like, you know what I mean? It's like we got to get to that point of, holding our kids accountable, especially once they get past a certain age. Now, when they're under age, like under 9 and so forth, okay, it's okay. You're still learning. They're still understanding. But once you get to basically 10 and 11, it's like, now look, you have to gain more responsibility. And I feel like parents need to make sure that their child is doing what they need to do and also doing prep work at home. Again, also, this is also very, very important too. For those parents who may be nervous about this, but this is going to be helpful. Get your child tested if there's any issues that you see academically. If your teacher is kind of telling you, what your son, he's reading words a little backwards, or he's a little delayed when it comes to maybe reading, or when it comes to, writing, your daughter can she can respond well, but when it comes to, a verbal response, she may not understand what she just talked about, but yet she writes it orally. So all these different things, it's like, what? It's okay if your child needs to get tested, because if your child does not get tested for special services or special needs services, you're doing that child a disservice. And I've worked with a lot of parents in the past that I've mentioned that to their kids and they just don't do it, and I'm just like, you hurting your kid. You're not hurting me. You're hurting your child. And it's going to be harder for them as they get older. Because as we know, sis, each grade gets harder and harder. And once you get past 5th grade and you hit that
Absolutely.
6th grade, 6th, 7th, 8th grade, and then you hit high school, oh, please, trust and believe, high school is no joke. Because at this point, if you want to go to college or whatever you want to do, high school teaches you to be prepared for the real world. And then when you get to college, it's really all on you. It's 100% on you. The bell stops ringing. My dad always told me that when I was in high school. He said, once you get to college, the bell stops ringing, which means the responsibility falls solely on that person. It's not mommy and daddy, auntie, tia, abuela.
Absolutely.
It's none of that.
Yeah, because you don't hear a bell
right
in college, because classes start at different times, so they're not
exactly.
ringing. You have to be any courses you take, online, in person, hybrid, is going to be a combination of time management, commitment, and routine, and being organized. If you're not organized with the supplies you need, because now it's all solely on you, you're an adult. Now these classes are also, they're not free.
Right, at all.
They're not
free. Exactly.
If you find one that's free 9-10 times out of 10, it's probably not something that's a prerequisite for something that you necessarily need for any advanced career. You might luck out and there may be, but it won't be enough free courses to get you to the end. It might be like, okay, this one course was free, but the other 30 I need aren't, but that's okay, because at least that saves some money on this one.
Right.
There are situations like that, or it might just be a certificate class where you just get a quick certificate for something that will help you out currently, but you still need anyone who's ever went to college, whether they've fulfilled their academic goals in college or they have not completed college, they have seen the units, the credits you need to complete any degree. It takes time, and it's a system. You have to take a certain amount of classes for your first year in there. Some people might overdo it and be like, oh, I could take 8. Okay, go ahead and overdo it. Because they're like, I did 6 classes in high school, 6 periods, I could do 8. Yes, but now you're working. You may be maintaining a household. If you are staying with your parents, you're still working, you're contributing more than you did as a high school student, as a student in free school, was like I like to call anything from preschool up to 12th grade. It's free school, unless of course you went to like private schools, and even then it was free for you. Someone paid for it, but your education is no longer in someone else's hands. For those who are blessed, who have scholarships and things of that nature, there's still going to be something you have to pay for, whether it's meals while you're there, gas while you're there, paying for your own clothes. There's going to be something now that you have to contribute to your education, to the next step. And being financially aware is going to be very important, but timekeeping is the biggest thing.
Right.
You could be the most unorganized person, but if you're always on time, you might get your work in.
Right.
There's people who are completely messy as far as like keeping things neat, keeping things in order, where you can find things right away. But their assignments are coming in, they're getting decent enough grades to pass their courses. Then you got the organized people with like OCD, like myself, who have everything set up, and that works for them, and then they got time management on their hands. And for me personally, I just like to be organized. I feel like it allows me to maintain a better schedule. It's just easier to work in an organized environment for me than in chaos, but some people thrive in the chaos. And so it's just, if you can learn time management once you're in high school, is really when you start learning it, because you're getting up at a certain time. You're practicing going to different classrooms. Some people in middle school, I've seen certain middle schools have more than one classroom that they have to go to, so they're not in just one classroom all day. Or they might spend half their classes in one room and then the other half in another after like their lunch break period, where they're starting to practice how high school would be, where they're switching classrooms and have to be due diligent about, I have 15 minutes to get from this class to that class, so it's enough time to use the restroom, grab something from my locker if I need to, and head on over to where I need to go, which makes it convenient because then you're not carrying. I remember the days where we carried about 6-7 textbooks and was carrying about 50 to 60 pounds of books in our backpacks on our backs. Walking from classrooms, walking home, even down the driveway, carrying 50 pounds as a child is a lot. But I caught public transportation. I'm walking pretty far, about half a mile to the nearest bus stop, just to catch the bus, just to get off near the school or in front of the school, and then have to walk from there and walk around the campus with that. Because when I was in high school, only certain grades were allotted the lockers due to the space. And so a lot of times freshmen weren't allowed lockers until later on. And in middle school, it was similar. It was a small amount of lockers, so it was like reserved for the higher grades, like 8th graders. So in the 6th grade, we're just lugging this stuff, and it didn't bother me because I was young and I guess had energy then that I don't have, and probably explains my knees currently, the condition they're in, because I've been working hard since I was in middle school, and I started middle school young, because before they had it where you had to be, for sure, your birthday had to be after a certain time period of the school starting, within like a certain time frame of like 60 days before you turn like 5 years old for you to start kindergarten, or you have to wait until the next year because you're so many days outside of that a lot of time. That's when school started in September. So I probably wouldn't have made the cut since it starts in August now. I would not have made the cut.
Exactly.
Because of that, I started middle school when I was 10. Because I was right at the cusp of the cutoff. So a lot of people were 11, some even 12, going into 6th grade, and now here I am. I'm just turned 10, and like looking at everybody like, okay, so there's no recess, but they have something called PE. It's like recess, but they pick what to do for you, and you're pretty much just working out. But you're kids, so you have to work out. They making us run a mile. We're thinking it's the best thing in the world, racing each other to run a mile. Now that's, a form of torture for us in our 30s. And you forced me to run a mile.
And you know what? I want to kind of go back a little bit, because when referring to college too, because I know there are a lot of high school seniors who just graduated, class of 2025. It's crazy to me because this is the year I've been out of high school for 20 years, which is insanity to me. But I want to say this too, for, being responsible and prepping, like you said, in time management, is that for those who are starting college in the fall, so August, September, preferably next month, I would just say this: when it comes to college, as you and I know, Ash, that college is a whole nother ballpark, because everything falls on that student. Teachers are not going to come up to you and ask, why did you miss, 3 classes? You're missing assignments. Teachers not going to tell you. And I tell my former students, and I said, when you get older, professors and teachers, we going to fall back. Because all of it falls on you. And I remember distinctly, I think I was a junior in college. I was at Sonoma State. So shout out to Sonoma State University. Go see Wolves. That's where I graduated from for undergrad. But like, I remember I think it was my foreign policy teacher. I don't remember what teacher he was, what class it was. But I remember he told us in orientation, first day of school, his policy, and that if he's late, you're late, you're going to be locked out. I was like, all right, whatever. Well, I showed up late one day because I couldn't find parking. Okay. I was trying to find parking. I was circling, couldn't find it. Finally found parking. I think I was like maybe 5 minutes late to class or whatever. Get up there, try to get into class. The door was locked. And this was when the classroom had, those doors that have the glass window so you can see in the classroom and they can see out.
Yeah, you can see anyone outside. Right.
So I was kind of looking, and a student saw me and my professor saw me, and he was lecturing. He walked to the door and pulled the shade down. And I was like, yo. And I was like, this is crazy. And then thankfully, 3 other students showed up late too. And it wasn't just me. We waited about 45 minutes outside until he was done lecturing, because then we had a break because the class was like 2 hours. And then after that, he let us in. And I felt so embarrassed. But at the same time, I never was late again. When I had class like the next day or 2 days later, or whatever day it was, I was there before the professor. I was like, oh, we not playing games at this point. I'm not going to be looking embarrassed.
Yeah. Lock me out
exactly.
once.
Right. So my point is...
Well, lock me out a second time. I might get myself a key.
Exactly.
The third
my
time.
point is that for those entering college, or, just that whole space, there are going to be professors who are not going to play. If they say class starts at 12 o'clock, you better be there at 11:45. Or 11:50 or at 12 because
it's a timekeeping system,
right? And teachers are going to teach you responsibility. You're going to learn to be more responsible of getting up on time. If your roommate is not up, oh well, that's on him or her. I got to get to class. Period. You know what I mean? And so this is what you're going to have to learn. This is what I teach my my younger students, and I think parents can encourage that, especially if they have students now who are going into college this year. It's like responsibility no longer falls on mommy and daddy. It falls all on that student. And when you're 18, you don't think about, oh, I'm going to college, it's going to be fun. Yeah, you're going to have your fun moments, but honey, you're going to work. You're going to work. Because one thing I learned, Absolutely. I heard that undergrad is one of the hardest things you can get through. And it is. Once you get through undergrad, if you get your master's like I did, and I'm thinking about going back to school to get my PhD, after that, it's going to be harder. But at the same time, you know how to manage and you know what's a priority. So it's all about prepping. It goes back to the beginning, what we said. You have to prep, even for me as a teacher. Like I said, I don't like math. So I sometimes, have to go back and go over division and fractions. I'm like, yo, what is 1/3 divided by this? Like, I have to practice because you're teaching a generation of kids who are looking at you and you looking at them like, yo, I don't remember what this was because.
Right. And as an educator, they expect you to have the answers.
Thank you. And I don't know about you, sis, but for me, when I was a kid, I thought all my teachers had every answer in the world. They knew everything. And then now, getting older and me being a teacher, I'm like, look, I don't even remember what this was. It's okay. And I tell my students all the time, look, we make mistakes. I'm human. So if it ain't right, we gonna figure it out together, I'm
not perfect. You guys might know the answer before I do.
And hopefully they do.
That doesn't mean, doesn't mean I don't know what I'm doing. Right. I'm still learning. That's why it's teaching.
Right.
And, not taught.
Right. For real.
You're a taught. No, I'm a teacher, because there's still any position in life, regardless what the job is, whether it's fast food, education, medical field, whatever, politics, law, there's always going to be you still have to learn things, events. What you learned when you obtained your degree changes. So now the stipulations for that same degree might be higher, might be less significant. The requirements to pass are going to change the version of your degree. And a lot of people don't notice too, and this is very important for college students, especially ones entering college for the first time, and for those who are currently in it who haven't done thorough research. But if you have a degree and you are not using it, and because a lot of people aren't aware of this, degrees expire. They can expire. And the only way they do not expire is if you work in the practice of your field, of your degree.
Yep.
So that way they can say you have firsthand experience of the current qualifications for your degree. That goes for doctors, that goes for nurses, teachers. It goes for anything that requires a degree to obtain that job. If you're not working in the field, then the material you learned will be outdated. Your degree will expire. You have to go to school for the same degree again to learn the current version. This is why they have different editions of books for that degree. You might have learned with edition 5, but now they require you to learn with edition 6 because there's been some things revised or some things added or some new material. For me personally, being in the medical field, there's new material in certain aspects of jobs that obviously are in hospitals and clinics. And because I work in a hospital, I would not have to go back to get the same degree that I'm currently using, only because I actively work in it.
Right.
If I did not work in my field and I tried to obtain a job and it's been years have passed, even 2 years, 3 years, it can expire your degree. Yes, you still have a degree, but it's not currently valid for the requirements of that same job position because your degree is outdated, because now they've discovered new ways of doing things. Medicine has changed, equipment has changed, and you no longer are fluent in this. You're a novice in your own field. You have a little experience because you did go to school. You might know the basics, but now the new requirements you no longer have because that wasn't taught when you went because things have been revised.
Right.
So that's very diligent for people to understand. If you're going to college currently, about to start in the fall, or whatever semester you're choosing to start with, even if you take a year off, be mindful that if you're not using your degree, it can be outdated. That even goes for computer systems, IT work. Things change. Things are always advancing. Because it's always advancing, if you're not working in your field, you will be outdated in your field, and the methods you use, they would consider old ways, and you need to go back to school to learn the current way. And the only way to avoid that is to work in your field. And if you're going to go to college and obtain a degree, please choose something you're passionate in, because if you're not going to pursue this as a career for your life, then you're literally just going to school and you're wasting your own time.
Exactly.
You know, you're literally wasting your own time.
Right.
And you can be going for a passion that you're interested in. And that way, when you get out, you're satisfied with what you're doing. Because if you're not satisfied in what you're doing for work, you're not going to enjoy it. You're not going to give your all. You're not going to get the most out of it. And you're not giving, the company is going to be, in a sense, you're not going to give your all to them. So they're not getting the best they can get. And they could have had an employer or client that values what they're doing, is passionate about what they're doing, and the company could be thriving. You're literally setting things behind because you're not interested in what you're doing. I wouldn't be in the medical field if I wasn't interested in what I'm doing, if I didn't have a passion for it. I know you wouldn't be an educator if you didn't have a passion for it, especially in the 2 fields we're in. If you don't have the heart for it and the mindset for it, it will show. And I've seen people when things turn from a passion to a job, and it's a big difference. When there's no passion there, it's a big difference. Their attitude is different, the treatment is different, the customer service is different. For me, it's patient care. For educators, you can tell by the level the students are excelling at.
Right.
If they're even excelling, even if they're even improving.
Right.
And that's what we're mainly talking about here today is students. And that goes for parents as well. You guys are the first educators.
Right.
I'm a mom with a young 2-year-old. And if I didn't focus on teaching him things, even though he's 2, and just going, oh, he's 2, he got time. No, these first 5 years of his life before he starts kindergarten are so critical, because they're a complete 1,000%, not even 100%, 1,000% reflection of his at-home life, what I've been working hard to show him, and it was shown to the teachers. And teachers you guys commit to it without being asked, to the students who aren't being constantly put on a routine, reestablishing their skills, sharpening their skills at home, setting time aside to work with those students a little bit harder without being asked to.
Right.
It is just automatic. You don't get nothing extra for doing it, for working a little harder with this student versus the other students, or a little harder with X amount of students versus the other half of the class. And because you guys love what you do and you want your students to excel.
Right.
You guys, I'm honestly working in the medical field. I feel like teachers have it harder.
No, we do. We do. 100%.
The nurses and everything.
It's a lot.
Because our pay, at least, is a little more satisfactory.
Right.
Yes, we're dealing with lives in our hands, but majority of the time, we're dealing with, we have all the resources on hand, every tool on hand to get our job done. Versus you guys have to become magicians and pull things out.
And on top of that, and as teachers too, let's be real, we are teaching kids to get into medical field. Let's be real. As teachers, we are exposing our students to all types of opportunities. Well, put it like this, good teachers, okay? Because there's different levels of teachers. There's teachers, I'm going to keep it 100. There are teachers that should not be teachers. Let's be real. They're only here for the paycheck. They don't care about the student, especially
and
students
some don't want to
who are black and brown.
The new programs.
Well, especially students who are black and brown. Majority of my students are a population of half black and half Latino, and I love that. So when it comes to that, I definitely go hard. And the thing is, too, one thing about me, I'm not here to brag or toot my own horn, but what a lot of other teachers may not be able to relate to, and then there's a lot that can, is you got to connect with your students. There's a teacher I met when I did went on a camping trip with my students last year, and she was an older Caucasian woman, okay? And she was older. She'd been in the game a lot longer than me. And one of her students came up to her and asked her something, and she kind of didn't really answer the question. But after the student left, she came up to me. She was like, she's like, all these questions about my personal life. She's like, this is why I can't. And like, she kind of shunned them and like made herself distant. And to me, I was thinking to myself, and this is why they don't connect with you, because when teachers, and I had teachers like her in my younger years, they don't open up. They just are like, I see you, and just go to work, and give your assignments and go home. But when you have teachers like myself and other teachers out there who are young, I'm 38, and we're a millennial, I'm an 80s baby. I grew up listening to hip hop and all these type of things, and you kind of you with the vibes, you know what's going on, and you got kids who are like, think you're ancient, but you're like not, and they're like, oh, you're the same age as my mama, cool, and then you know how to connect with them. Let me tell you, they will open up to you. Every class, every school year, I get students who misbehaved in other teachers' classes, and somehow those teachers don't know how to get these students together. But then all of a sudden, after a couple weeks, they in Miss Jackson's class. All right, well, let's see what happens. And I've had other people, well, I don't know how you're going to handle it, Miss Jackson, because this child, blah, blah, blah. All right, cool. Well, all of a sudden, weeks later, Miss Jackson, oh my gosh, he or she's acting so great, this and that. I had that happen this year. I had a child who was a hot mess.
Yeah, they're like, what are you doing?
Right.
What are you guys doing in there?
He was a hot mess. Right. All school year in different classes, in different grades. He gets to my class, I shut it down. I told him what it is, and I told him what it ain't. You know what I mean? At the same time, he knew it was love coming from me. So the thing is, I'm the type of teacher, I will let my kids know I got love for you. I'm fine for you. We're going to go hard, but you're not going to pull X, Y, and Z in this classroom. That's what we're not about to do. But at the same time, you're going to work. You know why? Because I believe in you. And so when you have teachers who connect with you, who push you, who also let you know you can't run this. This is my classroom. I run this. But at the same time, me and your mama are cool. Me and your daddy are cool, and we're going to work with you to make sure you get to where you need to go. Then it's a whole nother level, because then you got kids, because all the school year since I heard my students after me constantly repeating over and over about certain things. Then all of a sudden I heard my kids say, oh, we got to get it right because Ms. Jackson said this, okay, so we got to do this. We got to study, man, stop playing around. Like I heard my fifth graders realizing, oh, we got to get work done. I'm like, see, that's what I'm talking about. You're taking initiative because I care. And a lot of people in this profession have mixed feelings. They care, but then they don't care. And they throw kids who look like us away to the wayside, but they don't understand it. So when you connect with these kids and you don't let their background, where they come from, be the defiance of who they are, then you see them for who they really are, who are awesome and great, who got maybe a little bit of a struggle, but we're going to knock that struggle out. We're going to keep it pushing. We're going to show the glory and the fantasticness of who you are. Then these kids are going to want to go hard for themselves, for their family, and for that teacher. And that's what I push with my kids. Yeah. You feel me?
And when a lot of people, not just educators, but parents, need to understand, especially first-time parents, or you only have one child, no matter how many kids you have to understand one thing crucial about all kids. They love structure and discipline.
Yes.
Because that's something they can rely on. It makes them feel secure and safe. It gives them a sense of, okay, this structure, this safety, that it provides safety for them.
Even if
you're giving them structure and discipline. If you're providing them structure and discipline, you're correcting them when they're misbehaving. With that kind of discipline, you're providing them structure, keeping them on a certain schedule, making sure that you're on top of them, doing their work at home, in school, paying them attention to what's going on with their little busy lives. They love that. They thrive in that. They feel comfort in that. They feel secure in that. And that allows them to excel when they have that structure and discipline. When they don't have it, that's when they feel like, well, nobody cares.
Right.
I didn't get a good grade. I didn't have no help. People know I don't know what I'm doing. I've never been this grade before. I've never dealt with this kind of work before. I've never done with this kind of math, arithmetic, whatever is going on. I've never done with this kind of grammar. I don't have any help once I leave the classroom. I don't have any help at home. If they're having just as much support at home as they are in the classroom, your child will excel to the max, and they will purposely seek to please you.
That's
Kids
right.
Try to please the adults around them.
100%.
That's not just their guardians, their parents, that's their teachers, that's whoever's watching them, the adults around them. They're trying to appease them and impress them and show them, like, look at me, I'm doing a good job. Give me some praise, give me a pat on the head. They like that. They love that.
Right. And kids want to be loved.
That's what grows kids.
They want to be loved.
They want to be loved. And they know if you're providing them structure and discipline from your heart, out of a good place.
Exactly.
They take that as love.
Right.
The same way they can take abuse or neglect as love, because that's what you're showing them. You want to show them that structure and that discipline. Like, hey, no, you will be going to bed at this time. You will be eating dinner at this time. You will be washing up. You will be getting up in the morning at this time, eating breakfast, brushing your teeth. We will spend some time together doing these routines.
Right.
Because that makes them feel like, okay, they care.
Right.
So if my parent guardian is taking time out of their day to get me ready, I need to go to school and act right, get good grades to show my appreciation for what they're doing for me, for taking time to get me ready in the day. And some people don't have that. Some people are on their own, even at a young age, getting themselves together or getting younger siblings together and then having to head out the door.
Right.
And very crucial, it starts in the home.
Sure
if
does.
you want to prepare your kid for school coming out of the summer, spend time with your kid on getting that schedule down packed, eating dinner at a certain time, going to bed at a certain time, even if you're pretending to go to sleep just to get them to go to sleep, and then you can have quiet hour to yourself once they're asleep, which a lot of parents do, and then getting up at a certain time with them, getting them fed and cleaned up for the day, even if you don't go anywhere for the day, if you're just staying at home. That way they feel like, okay, you're taking time out to dedicate to their needs, to get them prepared for school. So when they go to school, they feel like, well, I have nothing to give my parents other than to do good in school. So when they hear from my teacher, it's nothing but good news. I'm doing good on my assignments. So my parent could be proud of me and happy, like, oh man, my kid's doing great. You drew the best turkey in class, or you got a good grade on your math test.
Exactly. And it's a great feeling. And I'm going to tell you this, sis, it is nothing like having a parent-teacher conference, and literally the parent-teacher conference is 5 minutes, because literally your child is amazing. It's like she listens. He listens. He turns into homework. He respects his stuff. He does what he needs to do. I ain't got nothing else to say. And then the parents, the response I get from the parents of smiling and just like, oh, this is great. Sure is, because your child is awesome. It's so much easier compared to when you're talking to your child, a parent, and you're like, okay, well, so they've missed about 6 assignments. Oh, I didn't even know they had assignment. I put it on Class Dojo. I let them know. It's a little bit different. And those parents sometimes don't even want to show up.
Being active in your child's life.
It's
not
crucial.
Just getting them off to school.
It's more than that.
Getting them to bed.
Yes.
Paying attention to their schoolwork.
Yes.
Communicating with their teacher.
Yes.
Seeing like, hey, is my child doing good? Even without the teacher having to say something first, to make sure there's any assignments not missed. You won't miss an assignment at work because you know you can get in trouble for that. There's consequences behind missing work assignments at work. It's the same with school. Your child is learning how to do this. You're already an adult. You've had plenty of practice on this. This is their first go around, so they need to know what to do.
Exactly. And I think on that is like, this is when, again, have to be proactive, have to ask questions, and not just be the parent, like you said, to drop them off and pick them up. It's like, no, your child has homework and, I need you to help them out, because I've had parents, well, aren't you supposed to do it? No, I'm not. Like, well, don't you have homework out? Like, for real, I've had parents who said, like, do you have, like, homework to do, or do you make time in the classroom to do homework? No, I'm not making time in my class to do homework. Not at all. Because the word is homework. Do it at home. Well, my child didn't have a chance to do it. What am I supposed to do? That's not my problem.
Right. It says homework. No.
Right.
Schoolwork. They're literally schoolwork and
exactly.
homework.
And another thing too, I want to say before we wrap this up too, for to be more prepared, is that for parents to make sure, not just when you start school, throughout the school year, that they stay organized with pencils and papers and crayons. Because I'm gonna be real, I'm the teacher that I will not hand stuff out to you, because I'm like, I need you to get ready of having it on your own. So yes, maybe the first couple months we'll have pencils and papers and pens, all that, but after that it's like, Ms. Jackson, I lost a pencil. What am I supposed to do?
It's not going to be a consistent thing where the teachers are always providing things to students. You guys are teachers. You guys aren't.
And we're human beings. We got lives
supply
too.
Store.
We got our own lives outside of being another person's teacher.
But that stuff is costly, Parents can't. If you spoke ahead of time with parents and work something out where their situation and you can help out, but you guys have lives too, and a lot of that stuff is coming out of pocket for a lot of educators.
Right. Exactly. And I'm gonna be real. I'm the type of teacher that I'm not spending money on stuff like that. Like I'm not doing it, because it's just like, I get stuff from my classroom enough for my kids throughout the school year. And if they lose it or break it between August and June of the next school year, I'm gonna be like I told them this year and the year before, I don't know what else to tell you. I had it ready. Well, we lost a pencil, or we look. I gave it for y'all. You lost it. You broke it. It is what it is. You gonna have to suffer what we
also
have.
When you get in the habit of supplying it, people would take advantage a lot of those times and be like, oh, well, you don't have to get nothing from Miss Jackson class. She always gets stuff for the students.
Somebody told
and
you
that's
wrong.
Not fair, because because it's coming out of pocket.
Yeah.
You're not getting anything from it. Half the time it's not even it's hard to keep up with how many times you might have bought it. You might lose the receipt trying to get the tax deduction on it. It's usually not worth it.
Right.
There's a reason why, it's part of being a parent.
Right.
No different than buying diapers, wipes, their clothes. You got to buy their supplies.
Right. Exactly.
People don't think of that when they have a kid. They just think, I just get this, that, and that. As long as they're eating, being, their clothes.
Right.
Good to go. No, their school stuff counts as well.
Right, exactly.
School supplies count as well.
Right. So, you know what? Let's wrap this up and end on a more uplifting, it's always uplifting, but on a note to let those listeners out there, that for those who are parents, those who are not parents, those who are teachers, those who are just in this industry or not in this industry, have nieces and nephews, just constantly prepare your students to be ready for the next grade level the best way you can. I know we're still dealing with a lot of COVID babies and the aftermath of COVID. That has been the thing for the past 5 years. But just prep your kids, prep your nieces and nephews, and remember, it's not all on the teacher. A lot of it, majority of it falls on the parent. And we, like I said, the parents are the coaches. We teachers are your assistant coaches, and the students are the players. We all are in this together. So we need your support just like you need ours, so we can have a great school year, and so your children can continue to thrive and be amazing young boys and girls as they're supposed to be. So that's just how I see it. And I go hard for my kids, and I want all my kids to be successful, and I want my parents to know that I have their back and I'm rocking with them. And just like I know a lot of parents have my back as well, because it's work. It is hard work to be an educator, especially in this day and age. Yeah, it's a lot. But
it's team effort,
Yeah.
As long as everyone remembers, anybody preparing to go back to school, regardless of their age, regardless of their grade.
Exactly.
Reestablishing routines coming out of summer. Sharpening those academic skills. Yep. Getting organized as far as your school supplies, time management, a place where you can work with minimum distractions, getting proper sleep, eating proper meals, just making sure you have enough energy to get through your day, regardless of your age. As a family, as a household, this is very vital in going into the new school year for any household. Time management, proper sleep, getting enough to eat, having a safe workplace where you can work with minimum distractions, and implementing that routine, going back to bed at a certain time.
Yeah.
Waking up at a certain time.
And
these things are very crucial, and it's going to do nothing but lead to success.
Exactly. Absolutely. And we're going to end it there. And we thank you so much for listening. And we'll be back with another episode of Don't Trip Sis. We appreciate y'all.
Absolutely. Appreciate you. Until next time, thank you for tuning in.
That wraps up another episode of Don't Trip Sis. Thank you so much for listening. And remember, take care of your thoughts when you're alone, and take care of your words when you're with people. We'll see you next time.